Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the September 29th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Malcolm White, present.
Sandy
Peter
Slavin,
Dunlop. Go ahead, Sandy.
Sandy Slavin,
Peter Dunlop.
Jim Gibberti. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of us here. We don't have any minutes from the previous meeting with us. So we'll go right to citizens' participation. And who do we have? If somebody wants to speak, you're going to have to put up your hand and be recognized. I do not have visual of who's there or what. And Bob will let me know. So if there's anyone that wishes to speak, please raise your hand.
Greg will speak.
Okay.
Want to speak, Greg?
I thought I saw somebody with a hand up. Listener. Okay, Eric Bickford. Bob, can you let him in? Hello. I don't know where we are at the moment.
Left the screen.
There we go. Okay, Mr. Bickford, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. You are muted at the moment. I believe if, there we go, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. So can you tell me with regard to the grinder pump, what the plan is now as of today and what the cost to the homeowner is going to be?
The cost of the homeowner, as far as hookup is concerned, we have no idea because it's going to be an individual basis. Each one is going to be different. Depends on who you have the contractor. The grinder pump itself, we're putting in, we're paying for.
Okay, and what about the electricity cost? Do you have any estimate on that?
Zero. Again, it depends on what you have for electrical service, how far it's going to have to be run, how they can hook it up, and again, who your electrician is.
Okay, and also, how is this going to rectify the issue down on Ronkinko?
Guy, can you explain that better? You're muted.
Bring up any better. It's going to eliminate one Kinko, eliminate all gravity and have all pressure pipes, and that'll rectify the problem. It'll be 4 feet in the ground opposed to 17 to 10.
Right, so basically it gets the pipes out of the water table.
Because
Correct.
I don't understand how that's going to work. A grinder pump up here, how is that going to affect the water level down there?
It doesn't, it takes the pipes out of the water level. We're not having all the infiltration.
Okay. Can you also tell me how is it the responsibility? It seems to be a town issue. How is it the responsibility of the homeowner? 115 of us.
Well, that's interesting. This is an upgrade to the system. And the expense of the pump installation and all is borne by the town. The actual hookup is similar to when it was put in originally. You have to do the actual hookup itself. I believe in discussion with Guy and the engineers earlier that these grinder pumps are going to be installed right on the property line and hopefully in as close a proximity to your existing lateral as possible to minimize the amount of hookup necessary.
So when you're talking, who's responsible for pulling up the driveway?
Now, if we don't, I mean, why are we gonna incur this extra cost in electricity? This isn't, you know, this is a town issue. It's not an individual homeowner's plumbing issue.
Guy, you want to speak on that before I do?
He's busy.
Oops.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Right.
No, you can get it, Jim. I think we've talked about it. It's a shared responsibility between homeowners and the town. The towns,
I don't
Deals with
see how it
doing our
is. If
part.
we're not having a plumbing problem, I don't see how that is, you know, how is
they
this?
have no place
not
to
gonna-
go. If the sewer can't take what comes out of your house, then.
But we're
then
not having we're
guess
not
it's a
having
shared
any
problem.
issues here. We're not having.
No,
it.
because it's coming downstream. Once it leaves your house, it becomes common. So if you weren't using your bathroom, then we wouldn't be having a problem. So collectively, the whole neighborhood is on sewer. And so it becomes a collective problem.
The whole town is on sewer.
No, it is not.
No, 60% of the town is sewered, 40% is not. That is correct. And those that aren't sewered wouldn't be bearing any of the costs. And every sewered person within the community, all 6,600 customers are bearing the cost.
And how much was allocated? How much state money was allocated for this project?
No state money.
No state money.
No state money. Okay.
600.
No state money.
And
Somebody else has to-
I read that this project may be eligible for state grants or funding. Is there anything to that?
No, there's another project that is eligible that we're looking at, but not this particular project that we're doing.
Yeah, that's-
I have a quick question, please. Did you just mention that 600 people will benefit from these grinder pumps?
No, I did not.
I
What
didn't
number
hear that.
did you just quote?
In relation to what?
How are these grinder pumps going to help other than just one Kiko?
I didn't address that. What I said to you is the 6,000 customers bearing the cost. Someone talked about sharing the cost, and I said there's 6,000 customers and
Okay.
everybody's sharing the cost. That's all I
Okay,
said.
but only 117 people are going to have the grinder pumps.
At the present time.
Okay. At the present time. But what I'm saying is that the $3 million to be paid back for this cost is being paid back by 6,000 users. That's all I said.
Okay, so in regards to all of us that have driveways, if the driveway needs to be removed to put the grinder pump at street, where the street hooks up, do you have an asphalt company that you can recommend to all of us, or all 117 of us need our own individual electrician, plumber, and asphalt?
That's a good question. I think we'll have to talk to your contractor. We'll actually figure that out. Your contractor you hire will do all encompassing. He gives you a quote. It'll be for all of the completion of the job, whatever that is.
Well, I have something here. We just had our driveway re-asphalted 2 years ago. Now you're telling us you're gonna rip it up to put this grinder in, and then we're responsible to redo our driveway? Come on, give me a break. No.
I didn't say that. I don't know where your line is. I don't know anything.
Well, I know
We'll
where my
figure that out
line
when we
is,
get
out
to
my
that.
back door. You're gonna have to go from the street to my back door. You're gonna rip up my driveway. That's what I'm saying.
Your line comes
Pretty
out your
much.
back door, it's gotta come down to a pipe on the street somewhere.
That's right,
She's
through my
saying
driveway.
to the driveway.
Yeah. So they're gonna rip that up? Who's gonna repave it?
Well, they'd probably rip it up at the street, not the whole driveway, because we're gonna put the grinder in the street on the common ground. And I'm assuming that your property ends and this town property starts. That's where the grinder is and that's where your pipe is. They have no need to rip up the entire grinder, but your contractor will explain that to you.
Okay.
Okay,
That's 117 of us that need our own contractor.
That'll be correct. I would suggest when we get to that point, whenever it is, if it's everybody's gonna do it at different times, you'll probably do it with different contractors. If a lot of you are gonna do it at the same time, then you may want to negotiate with a contractor for all of you and may get a better price.
What happens to
It's
all
all
of
in
us,
timing, how,
all of us that are here, but not year round, but we pay taxes, full taxes? We don't have someone to leave a key to. We don't
well,
have
no,
any,
we'll do it when you're around.
I'm sorry?
When you're around, we'll do it. When you're back in town, if you come down for the summer, or maybe you don't, but when you're around is when you'll schedule to have it done. I wouldn't expect you to have it done when you're not around.
Okay, so, and the
you'll
time
have,
frame,
you will have a year to accomplish this.
is the town making arrangements with any bank for a zero line as far as credit goes? If
That's,
you need to take out a loan?
that's nothing that
I,
we have any
we're
control on.
looking at that. The town has some programs, but I can't talk about percents or anything like that. That's totally out of my control. I wish I could answer that, but I have no control of percents or all
Who
that good
has
stuff.
the-
We're inquiring and see what's available.
Who has the town contracted to do this work?
Forever won the bid out of Rhode Island.
What is the name again?
Forever, Ferrera, Forever. They're a contractor out of the state of Rhode Island. And we haven't completed the contract yet. We're doing the letter of awards, the vetting, and so as of this point in time, it's unofficial until there's officially a contract signed. So we're in that process now.
Okay,
What?
so the actual start date will not be October 1st.
No, we started the
No.
process, and once the contract is signed, we don't know. I can't guarantee October 1st because that's Saturday. So obviously it won't be Saturday because we haven't got the contract. There were some issues getting to contract, and these things always take or less or more than you anticipate. Once the contract is completed, we'll ask the contractor to submit a time frame. Once they submit the time frame, we'll make it public. And then once the job is completed, if that takes a year, then you have a year after that to tie in. So it's a little bit of ways to answer and to address all your concerns and questions as we move along.
Okay, can you go over one more time? We were at the meeting here at the community house on Pleasant Street. They did not have enough brochures to give out. Can you give us some information on the size of the grinder pump? How many
I
gallons?
would-
per-
I don't have it in front of me. I think he said, and I'm gonna go out of memory, so please don't quote me, but I think he said it does like 80 something gallons per minute or something along that lines for pump itself. And in that ballpark, but I can't specifically, because I don't know, I don't remember, and I don't have that documents in front of me.
No, what's the physical size of the thing you're putting in the ground?
Did you hear that question?
Negative.
I heard
But
some
One
goes
person,
in the
one
ground.
person only speaking, please. Otherwise, we're gonna shut it down. Okay, now the question again,
What is the physical size of the pump that will go underground?
There's a chamber that the pump goes into. The
Yes.
pump is probably, I'm gonna say, maybe 2 feet high. And I forget the pump rate, and I'm not so sure of the horsepower. He did address it. Then the chamber itself, I'm not sure. I thought it was like 6 or 7 feet with a usable depth of, I want to say 36 inches, and I don't know exactly, but it's in those ballparks.
A
I
question
don't
that
have it in
has,
front of me, man.
a question that has come up. Should we lose power? A rep will come out from the town and give a loaner generator?
No, we'll come with a generator, plug the generator, and then empty your tank.
Okay, will
We'll have
that
a
be,
truck with a generator out in service.
and that pump will accommodate the whole street, all of these streets that are affected?
Correct. We'll take care of all the streets. I don't, again, it's timing, and everybody will be there depending on the time of the year the power goes out, whatever, and we'll address it. Yes, absolutely.
Can you
We'll take care
go
of it.
one more time around, please, for what is the exact streets that are being affected? Is it all of Bond Street? Is it all of Trinity? Is it all of Bayview from
Good.
Beach all the way up?
Yes, Bayview entirely, One Kinko, Pleasant, Barnes, Murphy, and the upper left, what is that one? This little tiny stretch, it's like on an angle. And that would be it.
The
I
entirety,
it's not Trinity. What's, the little on top of, what's on top of Murphy?
Columbia?
Okay.
That little street there. What is it? Yeah, I think that might be right. Yes, ma'am. There's more, it goes into the marsh area, and there's some
Columbia.
asphalt before that.
Correct.
Columbia, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Little piece of
Columbia is
Columbia, and
affected. Columbia is
that's it.
affected. Trinity is not affected.
Correct.
To my,
Could you
yes,
tell us the
correct.
streets that will be affected on phase one?
I think we just went over them.
Could you reiterate that?
Sure, I'll do my very best. We talked about Columbia, Murphy, Barnes, Pleasant, Bayview, and One Kinko.
And it's the entirety of Pleasant. It's the entirety of Bayview.
Pleasant from Trinity down to One Kinko. I believe some run, if it runs above Trinity, it's not affected. I believe Trinity is the upper limits of the project.
Correct. So just the
Yes, so
few
if it-
homes that
If
are
it's
on,
beyond Trinity,
I'm sorry,
if it's everything below Trinity towards One Kinko, between One Kinko and Trinity would be,
Okay.
it's all, it doesn't go above Trinity.
so just the few homes that are on Columbia are affected,
That is correct.
both sides of the road.
Yes, anything that flows to One Kinko Road, I believe all of that little section of Columbia does. Everything that flows to One Kinko is what's being affected. Yes,
Is, are we planning on having a new pump station put in?
no, our goal is to eliminate the 2 pump stations we have in Swiss Beach.
Can you tell me how much money has been allocated for this project and where that funding is from?
It's borrowed. The town is borrowing the money. $3 million is allocated. And this will be paid back by the enterprise. And again, all 6,600 users will pay back the $3 million.
Will that 6,000 people, will that be a part of your tax bill then?
It'll be part of the sewer bill. We have
Part of your sewer bill,
6,600 users on sewer. It'll be part of the sewer bill. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this phase one that you're speaking of, any idea when phase two will happen?
Negative.
I do not. We're trying to plan it. We're applying for some federal funding. We don't know. If we get some definitive answers, we'll share them. We won't have any inkling till probably the first of the year as to where the federal government is. And I don't want to make any speculations because it's a complete round robin, competitive process. And I will make no speculations, but once we know, we'll let the public know.
Where can we get the meeting, the minutes from this meeting?
What meeting?
This Zoom call, I'm sorry, I called it a meeting.
Well, then once their meeting's over, the minutes will be transcribed, approved, back to the meeting for the sewer commission to endorse it in a few weeks. And then it'll be made public and you can get it on the town website
Yeah, fine.
once they're given to the clerk's office.
Could you tell me, have there been any legal challenges to your knowledge to date?
I have no knowledge of any, but doesn't mean there isn't.
Is anyone there aware of any?
Negative. Okay, we all set?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other? Okay. All right, moving along. We have got abatements. Our first one is 45 Longwood Avenue. The abatement has been approved in the amount of $323. Water has been shut off. Have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the $323 abatement.
Sandy, and a second,
Second,
Mac. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Aye.
sorry, Jimmy, roll call.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's right. We're on Zoom.
Which
Roll
one are we
call.
on, please?
Excuse me?
Which one are we on?
First one, Longwood Avenue.
Okay.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Yep.
Jim, vote yes.
Yep.
Mac
Malcolm, yes.
and Sandy.
Yes,
Okay, that's a 4-0. Wyconis Ave. Approved.
I make a
for-
motion, we approve the $323 abatement.
for a second,
Second,
second by Peter. And roll call, Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
Mac,
Yes,
and Jim, yes. Okay, Tow Road,
I make a motion, we approve the abatement of $323 for 3 Toll Road.
Second,
Peter. And roll call, Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
Mac,
yes,
Jim, yes. Okay, Kendrick Road, that's a $2,745 abatement and reducing them down to 1 EDU.
I make a motion, we approve the abatement for $2,745 for 3 Kendrick LLC.
Second,
Second by Peter. All right, Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
Mac,
yes,
Jim, yes. Okay, that's 4-0 again. It's 73 Swifts Beach Road, 646, and reducing them to 1 EDU.
I make a motion, we approve the abatement of $646 for Macmillan.
Second,
Peter, okay, Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
Mac,
yes,
Jim, yes. Okay, now we have 2416 Cranberry Highway connection request for 2000. Now, if I read this correctly, Guy, this is for 2,640 gallons per day. The others that's on there have already been approved for them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was on the right page.
Jimmy, I'm going to ask a question. I
Shoot.
don't see that on our approved list. What am I missing?
Maybe the time frame.
Now, let me be clear. When they came to us originally, they asked for 7,760 gallons for 3 projects. The board decided to do them one at a time. We've done the first lot, we've done the second lot. Now they'd like to do the third lot. The problem with the third
Okay.
lot is a capacity issue. So we're bringing forward the third lot I gotta tell you, I don't see the 2,000 gallons that they need, but we're following through with the process and trying to give them some disposition so they can decide how they're gonna move forward.
Guy,
whatever
sorry,
that case may be.
Guy.
Yeah.
We approved how many gallons already?
4,000, I
The
think it
first two
is.
projects, 2,880 gallons.
And that's been implemented.
Correct.
What is the name of the company or project for the balance of gallons we're now talking about? Because I do not see it on our list.
It is not. They're just bringing it forward.
Oh,
So
I
if you
thought we
remember,
were
Mickey
only going to-
Higgins, hold on, I think I think it's the name of the company, Sandy. They originally
Realty-
came to
Alpha
us for the
Realty
entire
Holdings.
project. Who was it?
Alpha
So they're the ones that
Realty.
came to us originally.
South Coast
Alpha
Yes,
Development.
2020, if you remember.
We
right?
have a
Didn't they come to
list.
us in 2020?
Sorry. Jim, may I ask my
They're not on
question?
the list.
If they're not on the list, how can we give them any capacity?
What
I didn't
list
say you could or
are we
should.
on?
This is the
Committed
list that was,
gallons she's talking about. She's talking about committed gallons list. They're not on it.
Right,
No, you're right.
okay,
You're
they're
correct.
not on it. Okay, so
They are
what,
not on it. She's absolutely correct. We established
Okay.
that. Yes, you're 100% right.
okay,
So
Mike,
it's a new connection, it's a new request. And
Okay,
so
this is a
because
new,
of the moratorium and yes, new
Okay,
request.
that's what I wanted to make sure. This is a new request all the way through. Their original
It is
request,
because it's the final leg.
right, but I was just saying, their original request was for 7,150 gallons, which we did not grant at that time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we asked them because they were doing individual lots and different projects. They were asked to come back on the individual ones at that time. They came
is
back
correct.
for one, it was approved for, what is it, 2,000 gallons.
Yes.
And then they came back again for another 2,000 gallons.
No,
That was
880 gallons for Popeyes.
Okay, but what shows on what? $880. So you're saying that they got a total of 2,880 gallons. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Approved. Project one and
approved.
project two. Yes.
okay, so
Yes.
this project 3. And so this is a new discharge altogether, so this is within the moratorium timeframe. This isn't prior to. So this request that they have has not been included in our calculations from the beginning. Is that correct?
That's
right, so-
correct. When we originally did this, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
there was 6,000 gallons available. It's because the project across the street, which is the Robinsons, was 12,000. They cut it to 6. We figured we use 6 for this. At that time, the board decided that they would put all the infrastructure in for all 3 projects, but they would only be approved one at a time. So he
Correct.
invested his money and put the infrastructure for all 3. We approved 1, we approved 2. Now he's ready for 3. Yeah, all the infrastructure's in, but we have no capacity.
all right,
And that's where
Mr.
we are.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was under the impression that the capacity limit document we received for 253,265 gallons were all the pending approved projects that have not hooked up yet. I don't see Popeyes in there anywhere. I don't see the 2,000 that were previously approved. I'm totally confused. How do we have approved projects with capacity that it's not part of this control number we have of 253,000? I
Well,
thought
he's
this list
complete-
was everything that had been approved but not implemented.
He's implemented the other 2. Or did
Yeah, the other two
Popeyes
were
Popeyes
implemented.
hasn't been
everything ready to
implemented.
go. No, he hasn't
Popeye-
built it, but we gave him permission and everything. So we took it off. You know what I'm saying? It's I believe Popeyes was done right after 2020. I think it was 2021, if I remember correctly. I'm not so sure. But wasn't it done previous to the moratorium officially?
Yes, it was done.
And maybe you're
remember
right.
that.
Maybe we should have wrote it on there, but Popeyes was not written on because the gas station was already done. So that was not a commitment because that was actual and flowing. And maybe you're right. Maybe we forgot to write the word Popeyes, but we gave permission to tie in Popeyes. So I'll add Popeyes, physically the word Popeyes to the list because it wasn't, but the gallons were taken care of, but the word Popeyes is not there. So we'll add the word Popeyes.
So you will be adding 880 gallons to this total of 253,000.
To my recollection, Sandy, the 880 gallons was already deducted. He's got those
That's what I
gallons.
thought.
He was supposed to build this last year, but he didn't. And so we took the gallons away because we figured they weren't committed. It slowed the project right down. And so now he's still got to build it. But when we first did this, Sandy, it should have been up last year, but for some reason it wasn't. And I don't know. So we didn't write the word Popeyes in because we thought he was breaking ground. He didn't break ground. So I neglected to write the word Popeyes in. But we deducted the gallons, so they're not, the 253 includes the 880 gallons, but I did not write Popeyes because I thought it would be done.
Okay, so the only thing that we're really discussing here at the moment, as far as the moratorium is concerned, is their request at the present time for this 2,700 gallons.
That's correct. That's all.
Whatever the hell
They're
else.
bringing it forward.
So that hasn't, two things. Number one, this has not been approved previously.
No,
And number two, this is coming in after the moratorium has been in place and we don't have the gallonage. We don't have the flow capacity available to honor this request at this
That's correct.
particular point. Does that
you're correct.
clarify anything, Sandy?
Yes, so this is a request for 2,640 gallons per day. There is no building permit. So we just have to consider this one more request that we are going to put on a pending list, not a queue, but a pending list.
Okay. So if we'll start a pending list,
All
we'll
set,
start
Peter?
adding these things to the pending list. And so they can,
You know what I think about your
Okay.
queue?
I know. But it's not a queue, Peter, it's a pending list.
It's a pending
That's
list.
better. We can
Not a
have
queue,
lots
it's a
of
pending
lists.
list.
The heck with this queue.
Okay, we'll call it a pending list, but it's not a queue.
Okay, so then do I have a motion that we put this on our pending list? No?
I make a motion, we add 2,640 gallons per day for 2416 Cranberry Highway on our pending.
Second,
And that pending list already has several already listed. So this is not the first item on our pending list.
And we'll have more before we're done. I'm afraid. I have a second on
Do
that?
we give, do we give our pending list any priority? First come, first served?
Right at this particular point, would put that particular question on hold until we can all go over that pending list and come up with some
Okay,
suggestions.
so Guy,
right
is it
now, I put that-
possible for the next meeting to have a pending list for our review?
Sure, I'll have to look at it. The pending list we're using now is what's already in the building permits. I'll break all that out, plus this,
Yep.
and whatever else we have. I think there's a couple others, and I'll list them all and we'll go from there.
Okay. And Guy, in that, could you put any your recommendation, if you have any, on any of them, on what should be moved forward on when we have the opportunity.
I can do that, but again.
If you're interested.
On the, yeah. in the board's-
Jimmy, we need a
yes, I
vote.
will-
I haven't got there yet, Sandy. I know that. Okay,
Specifically, this request is for which project, Popeyes?
no, this,
It's
this
for the
request, Mac,
car wash.
this is for the car wash in that location. Basically where the bread store was.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, back to the motion for this to go on the pending list. Sandy made the motion,
Second,
second by Peter. Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes,
Mac,
yes, on the list.
and Jim, yes, on the list. Okay. All right, now what did I do with that other piece of paper you just had? One second. here. Oh. There it is. Yeah. I just lost a piece of paper. Okay. The next, we have the site plan review for Damian's Pantry. Everybody knows where that's going. That's going on. You know, Mac,
Well, where's it going, Jim?
it's going on that, on the corner of Swiss Beach Road and Marion Road. That section of property that leads down towards Cranberry Cottage.
it is that whole piece of property, Jimmy, all the
Right,
way
yeah.
to Brown.
Right.
Okay,
You
I know the
that's-
general area.
That was the Deacon's property. Or it's got that fence around it, across the street, gas station.
Okay,
Okay. Guy, what do you need on this? I mean, we've got this here, but they're not looking for,
You gonna put this on the list?
yeah, it's got to just go on our pending list. Will be new construction from the get-go. There's nothing on that property now. There's no utilities on it. There's access to everything, but what they will need at some point in time from us is, the hookup
Yep.
capability, but
okay, what are they asking for?
to go on the list.
Yes,
For
but
how many
there's no
gallons?
Gallons.
I'm not gonna put them on a list. I have some, until I have a hint as to what they're gonna use.
Isn't it on that? Let me see, I'm not so sure.
I don't think it's
Isn't
on
that
here.
much, right?
I don't remember seeing it when I read it before. I'll double check it, but
okay.
get everything
How
else,
many
but
bathrooms? They say they're gonna use 500 gallons of water a day, but how many bathrooms?
what difference does it make?
Yeah, I don't know, it's 500 gallons a
Bathrooms
day
don't
is what they
count.
said they're gonna use. But
They
that
don't
was
have any
it, I think, yeah,
bedrooms.
that was 500 gallons a day is what
Okay.
they're looking for, 500 gallons a day.
All right.
Where are you finding that?
It's
Oh, yeah,
called
okay.
water system, sorry,
Page-
water
page
system on
3.
page 3. It just says how much gallons of water they're gonna use a day.
Well, then transfer it down to the sewer.
Well, no, because they're going to have gardens.
They're gonna have what?
They're going to have
Gardens.
gardens. They're going to use more water than they're dumping.
Okay,
If they're gonna have gardens, it's not gonna go in the sewer. So take the
Correct. So how
500
many
gallons of
gallons?
water and deduct 20%.
Uh,
Because
I'm not going to
it's all
guess.
not
I
gonna go
want them
down.
to tell us how many gallons they need. I'm
Well,
not
I'm sure-
guessing.
I'm sure they can do
Well, if
that.
instead of 500 gallons a day, we would be conservatively in the ballpark. We know it wouldn't be more.
If we put them down for 500 gallons and they use a lot in their gardens, it's to their detriment.
Correct.
Well, we're saying 500 gallons to the sewer per day. And they
Yeah.
projected they'd use 500 gallons of water. So if they put it in the garden, only less would come to us because what goes to the garden, we're not gonna see.
I
That's right.
totally
So
understand
sewer
that,
would be
but if we
less.
put it on, but if we put it on the list at 500 gallons, that's not benefiting them. They should come up with how many gallons they're going to be dumping.
I would like to table
it's
this
less,
until
yeah.
I can get something
not
to
a-
talk
One-
about.
well, hold a second. Let's sit down here for a second.
Yeah, what are we doing with a site plan review?
um, Basically,
Oh.
Guy, I think we just need to let them know that they need to come back with some kind of a number for their sewage
That's fine.
storage requirement, because it's, I agree that, if they take if we use the 500 and they use, part of that for gardens and all, that's that much less to the sewer.
So guys,
The flip side of that is that because of the list and because of our situation, if we hit the point where we allocate them the 500, they only use 2, that means we've got 300 that would have been available elsewhere. That's all. So I think it would probably behoove both of us if they could come up with some kind of a number, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And just,
Oh.
and just, and,
so can I ask a
submit-
question?
yeah, go right ahead, Mac.
So when the sewer went by, we didn't leave a stub for that lot? There was no betterment
No.
paid?
Probably not, but I don't know.
No.
You said no.
Because because the property fronts Marion Road and there's no sewer on Marion Road. If that makes sense. And then
Uh,
the
It does,
side
but it
part of
doesn't.
it,
Yeah, I got
and
you.
that's, well, because we better by frontage, well, I'm saying address, and the address is Marion Road. The side of the lot touches Swiss Beach, and they would come out the side, but we didn't better it because it wasn't Swiss Beach, and the manhole
list.
stopped and went into the trailer park. So that's
On
what
the
happened.
list. Yeah, okay.
We also have sewer on Brown.
No, we have sewer on that development that's off of Brown, and it comes from that development into Brown Street through some properties to Swiss Beach Road.
Okay. So when they
I
did
can't remember
tie
that
in,
development back there.
I know
What's
what you
that-
mean.
know that-
I
Yeah,
know
it's
what you
weird,
mean.
yeah.
So when they tie in, they'd probably tie into Swift Beach Road.
Yeah, because they came, yes,
That was-
this new Damian's were tying to Swiss Beach Road.
Okay.
That's correct.
Guy, isn't there a forced main that goes down Route 6?
There is.
Okay, that's all. Just curious.
It stops before it gets to this property, Jimmy, and it turns in at
Oh,
the trailer
okay.
park.
Okay.
No, there's
Gotcha.
a force main that, Peter, there's a force main that comes from Hathaway. And it runs down Route 6 from Marion Road in
Okay.
front of this property, and then comes down and dumps into the first manhole on Swiss Beach.
I
But
got
if
you.
they tied into that force main, they'd have to put a grinder pump or pump it in because it's not gravity. They prefer to do gravity.
Right.
But isn't there also gravity at that point?
No, it's all force
What
main.
comes from the
Like that
development?
restaurant,
What comes from the
the
development on Brown Road?
development is gravity. It's from Brown, yeah, it's gravity from that development. And the gravity goes to a manhole on Brown. And then out of that manhole, it cuts across an easement on some property into Swiss Beach Road.
All right, but this property would back up right up to that easement. Could they tie in there on the gravity line?
I think they looked, somewhere else looked at it and they can't, but because of elevations, but if they can, that's fine. It would be probably behoove them. But no matter what, they still need permission to bring in the 500 gallons. And I'm
So-
sure they do.
so
that
not
on
only-
the lease.
So not only do we want to know how many gallons, we want to know where their intention of bringing the sewer to our lines, whether they're coming to a force main or to a gravity.
No, their intention is to come to a gravity line, to the manhole on Swiss Beach. They made their intentions known. That's where they want to
Okay,
go.
I didn't read that.
Yeah, so that's where they want to go. The question is gallons, and we'll get the gallons from it.
Okay, then I would look at, just putting a hold on this until they can come back with,
Hey,
a
Jimmy, check.
Yeah.
Bob's, Mr. White says there's 3 people with their hands up.
Well, that's probably Bill.
Mr. Madden's one of them.
Yes, to speak on the connection, but you know, I got someone, hold on. Yes, I got an email or text that said that they want to speak on the connection. But the connection is a moratorium item. But then you can let them in and speak to them if they want. I think Bill would answer questions on the 2,600 gallons for the car wash. I think the gentleman that's going to run the car wash wanted to speak also.
okay, what? Bob, can you let Bill Madden in?
I think Bill can speak to Damian's also.
Okay. Bill, you're muted at the moment.
All right, I'm on mute now and let's go.
Okay.
Okay, finally get back on. Sorry about that. I've been listening. I did have some questions, you know, going back to the prior item, but if you'd prefer me to discuss the one you're currently talking about, I'm happy to do that.
Let's start with this one and then we'll back up.
Okay, what we were proposing to do, this is the food pantry. We're in front of the zoning board for a special permanent site plan review. I believe the plans were sent to the sewer commissioners as a procedural item relative to site plan review. So the planning board is to submit the site plan review package to series of boards and commissions in the town, and they're to provide the planning board or the zoning board, whoever it might be with, comments on that filing. So that's what you're receiving. I believe that's why you have the plan in front of you today, is because the planning department sent them for comments relative to site plan review. We are.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, you're welcome. And as far as the what we anticipated, there's going to be 2 bathrooms in the building, one for women and one for men. That's required by the plumbing code. They're only going to be open 2-3 days a week down there, part-time, like from 8 to 11:30 or 8 to 11 o'clock in the morning. And what our estimate was is that we would be using 500 gallons a day maximum for a sewer flow. So that's what we were intending to request, is 500 gallons per day. Guy was correct. We did show a connection to the gravity manhole in Swiss Beach Road. We're hoping to discharge the wastewater from that building directly to that manhole. And that's what the proposal consists of as it relates to the sanitary sewage discharge. And I recognize that's another issue entirely with respect to moratorium matters and things of that nature. But that's what the project basically intends to do. The community gardens, that's not necessarily cast in stone right now. We showed those on the plan just to provide the reviewing authorities with a clear understanding that those community gardens may be something that would be added as time goes on. We know that there may be a need for irrigation. We did show a water service yard hydrant being extended out in that area for for watering of the gardens. And we do understand also that that portion of the water consumption would not find its way to the sanitary sewer of the town. So we felt 500 gallons was an appropriate number for the usage of that facility. Predominantly dry goods will be transferred out of it.
So, so what you're saying is that 500 gallons is what the usage for the storage that you're interested in for Damian's
Yes.
family. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
All right, so we can back up on that one. If that being a number, if everybody is agreeable on this, I would say we stick this on our list at 500 gallons. Sandy, you look like you're gonna say something. I can't hear you. You're muted. Alan would love this.
But the mute button,
Yeah, God. He's being hog heaven to find out that she's muted like this. Oh, you saying anything? You can-
There. Mr. Madden, this is 3 days a week of maybe 4 hours a day. What happens
Yes.
if we were to increase their service more than three part-time days?
We still think that that 500 gallons accounts for extended use of that building for that
So
time
we
frame.
may start under 500 and increase up to 500.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. That was it. Thank you.
Sandy, you want to make a motion to put this
Yes, I
on?
make a motion that
Yes.
we add 242 Marion Road, Damian's Pantry for 500 gallons per day to our pending list.
second,
Okay, Sandy,
Yes,
Peter,
yes,
Mac,
Yes,
and Jim, yes. 400. Okay, that's on and done.
now, I don't mean to interrupt, but I
Go
will,
ahead.
if you don't mind, but I did have my hand up for discussion at for the 2416 Cranberry Highway. And I know that you have already run through that agenda item, and I don't know how appropriate it would be for me to speak relative to that, or if you're interested in hearing what I might have to offer.
I would be glad to hear what you have to offer, because I'm.
Okay.
Oh,
We did originally back in June of 2020, ask for, actually it was May of 2020. That's when we first provided a letter to the sewer commissioner seeking connection, and authorization to discharge a little over 7,000 gallons, 7,150 gallons a day into the town system. And that was to accommodate lot 1, 2, and 3. So it would be the service station, convenience store, the Popeyes, and the car wash. We were then advised to take each one individually, which is what we did do. We then
Right.
filed for 1, 2, and 3, and 3 now seems to be the one that we're a little bit stuck on. And I think that if we, my thoughts were is that we're going to be considered for all that sewage flow, a connection for that sewage flow. At the time, we broke them up regardless of how we did it. And I'd like to think that our May 27th request of 2020, might hold some ground with respect to the authorization to let the car wash tie in. I think if we add up the flows that we anticipated back in 2020, the 7,150 gallons, we're actually about 5,500, 56.
5370.
Yeah, exactly. So we're something like 20 order of magnitude, 20% less than what we asked for when we individually work things out. And, obviously we'd like to have that car wash permitted as part of the program. And just understanding what Guy was talking about with respect to the 6,000 gallons that was across the street that was not being used, seems to me that this is less than that 6,000 gallons, and it may fall within the parameters that would allow them to tie in as well. Obviously, you're the sewer commissioners, and that's the determination decisions that you will make. But from our point of view, we thought that we were essentially reserving 7,000 gallons and applying for them on individual basis. So we did apply for them on an individual basis, and the sum total now is a little bit less, and it does fall under that 6,000 gallons. So we would just respectfully ask for some reconsideration on that previous matter.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if
best
you
I can
will, for clarification, Bill, I
Go ahead.
appreciate that. I went back to the minutes of that meeting. The board denied the request of the 7,000 gallons and said reapply for one. So the original 7,000 gallons is denied.
Okay.
So that's what,
Understand.
Bill, I went to your point. I agreed with what you were saying, but I looked at the minutes and the board denied it and said, just tell them to do the one and that's it. And that's as far as it went.
Okay,
So
well,
that's why it became 3 individuals.
okay, not a problem. That's good. Thanks for the clarification on that.
okay, well, this will be back on the drawing board anyhow, and we'll take another look at it.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
All
not
right,
making any
well-
promises on anything other than the fact that we will look at it and see how it fits into the package.
okay, we do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Welcome, okay. Thank you. Okay,
Jimmy,
yes, sir.
do I have can I ask a question before we lose Mr. Madden?
If he dares to answer it,
Well, if he requested 7,150 for all 4 phases, how much is phase 1 used? How much 2? How much 3?
2,880 gallons.
For all 3?
No, that's for 2. That's for the first 2 that he's put in place.
So it was 2,000 gallons for the gas station convenience store. It was 880 gallons for the Popeyes. So
Yeah.
that is your 2,880, which had been previously authorized by
Correct.
the commission.
Now he's looking for an additional 2,500.
So is this phase 3?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right, that's where I was losing.
Yep.
I thought we were already to phase 4. Thank you.
You're
Now,
welcome.
space, and Peter, to clarify, I thought the 6,000 gallons or the 7,000 was approved in the original to be phased in. When I looked at the minutes, it was denied and told to do one at a time. So that changed the complexity of what Mr. Bad's understanding of mine was until I went back and looked at the actual minutes.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification, and I understand exactly what the situation is, and thank you again.
thank you for your clarification on the other one.
Welcome.
Okay. Next item, we have a notice of intent to foreclose.
Jimmy, I think there could be some more hands up.
That's fine. We're doing this first.
Okay,
We have a notice of intent to foreclose.
is there any impact on us?
No,
Only
it's just a foreclosure.
if they
and-
owe some
and-
money,
and
we'll get it.
all- Yes, you're absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman.
That's all.
And do they?
Just to notify, FYI, yes, they owe the remainder of their, what does he call it? Betterment. I have to look at the betterment and look at sewer usage. And anything that they haven't paid in sewer bills, which usually happens in foreclosures, then the town, I believe the collector treasurer will make sure the funds are dispersed to us.
You have a number, guy?
I do not. John will provide that.
Now, just because they foreclosed, does it mean the town has taken it over?
Up for auction.
The bank
No, it's
has.
just foreclosed. No, the bank forecloses. It has nothing to do with the town. But what happens is as lien holders, we have to be satisfied.
Okay,
Sewer superintendent's report, please.
Not much. We had our permit renewed and it had a lot of parameters that we weren't happy with. We wrote a letter to the EPA and appealed it, and our appeal was denied. So our permit will be issued and we will be responsible for finding and testing for PFAS. We'll be responsible for pre-treatment PFAS in businesses in the town. We are responsible for the new CMOM program that requires us to maintain the pump stations and the sewer lines and staff it accordingly. And one of the responses we wrote to the EPA was staffing, and they said as owners, it's our responsibility to staff properly. So they didn't take any of that into consideration. So we're going to move forward and do what we have to do and address our new permit and make the changes we have to make. So we're disappointed in the finding, but to be honest, we kind of expected that the EPA would not entertain any of the challenges. And it's not just Wareham. There's 644 that challenge, and they denied them also, to my knowledge. At least the 22 I looked at were denied.
Out of curiosity, guys, do you have any ballpark idea of what additional costs this is going to impose upon us?
No, and I'm afraid to think, but no,
All right.
I have no idea. I could put it together. We can do a budget, so we'll put it together. But staffing's going to be our biggest concern. We struggle with staffing now, and to have added responsibilities that's going to require staffing is kind of scary to me.
Yeah.
And then the testing, we got to test for PFAS throughout the plant, and then we have to test what comes in from businesses to make sure they're not providing or putting in PFAS or these forever products. So we haven't even began to think about how to do that. We'll probably do it at the headworks, or probably at every individual pump station in certain areas like, Kendrick, which would be the industrial park, et cetera, trying to isolate it and get a general idea and then try to be more specific. We really don't know. It's going to be a work in progress trying to address the permit. So I have no idea until we get into it.
No, I just wondering, I know it's going to be expensive, and I know it's going to be an
Yeah.
impact and greater than we've had, but I was just wondering if you had some ballpark feel yet.
Yeah, the EPA said it's really not their problem. The big picture is the contaminants. And that's all. And we have to address the problem and not be concerned with the complaining of the town about cost.
Right.
And so that's the federal government's point of view, and that's where we are with it. So that's that.
I
We
understand.
challenge it. And that's it. We have to do what we have to do and suck it up and pay and
Yep.
move forward. So that's that.
Pass it
So
right,
everything else is coming to get ahead.
Would you say,
Sorry?
Matt?
pass it right on.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. The project is starting to come into focus. We finished the tie-in of the 16-inch new filters. We're starting to get some electronic, but not all of it. So once we get that, we can try to wrap up the present project we're in. Tomorrow, I'm lying to you, Saturday, we're giving a tour of the facility. Weather providing, I think we're talking rain this weekend. That wasn't projected earlier in the week. We'll see. We're doing a tour with the finance committee, so they can see the plan to address some of the concerns and things that we're going to be doing in the future. We're kicking off our comprehensive wastewater management plan, and we're on the agenda Thursday at the Selectmen's. And just so everybody, we're on the same page, the comprehensive wastewater management plan is a 20-year plan that we submit to the Department of Environmental Protection, which addresses the growth for the next 20 years of the town and the sewer needed and how we're going to address it. And in that process, we will address when we have to do background, which would be the plant's present condition, which would be the infrastructure's present condition. Then it would be areas that the town deems that needs to be sewered, and then how we would address that sewer, get a total capacity, and then we do a lot of environmental impact studies to satisfy the government. And then there's a comment period from all environmental groups, individuals, and all that has to be addressed. So it can be quite a process. And we're going to need input from the entire town. There'll be a portion for public input, all the boards and committees within the town, the department head, and of course the selectmen are the driving force behind this entire process because they need to approve it. And the comprehensive wastewater management plan has a lot of bearing on grants, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an integral important part. especially seeing that we have a capacity issue. And we are addressing that issue also within this document. But we have to submit all of this to the powers to be. So we kicked that off January 6th with the selectmen, and then there'll be a series of meetings and committee meetings, and we'll meet with all the committees and
October
individuals throughout this whole process. October 6th. Yeah, that's, what did I say,
January.
October 6th, next Thursday, whatever
You're right.
that day is. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I also want to, yes, I also want to say is we're working on repairing our aeration system. We lost it, as I had said, and I think maybe I wasn't clear enough, as someone had mentioned to me, that in that process, we struggled and we did not make the parameters of our permit for the month of August. So we've got a letter into the DEP to explain it. So now we have to give them the letter of rectification, which we are working on, and we're repairing the blowers, which really need to be replaced. We're looking at replacement, but in the interim, we're going to repair them, which is about a $30,000 repair. And then we're going to repair the aeration grids, which each basin has a grid of stones that disperses the air, diffusers. And that we're hoping, we really don't know. We got estimates, $10,000 to $30,000. We'll get into it in detail as we start taking these down, but we have to make sure that components are available, because everything, VFDs went from 4,000 to 10,000, went from 2 weeks to 26 weeks. So we're struggling there. So we're thinking of going to starter motors, and they're still 10, 15,000. They're 4 to 5 weeks. So we're trying to figure out temporarily the best way to address it with the conditions of all the, if you will, the supply chain issues, because nothing's made in America anymore, it seems, and it takes forever to get everything. So we're working through all that along with the problem itself. So we'll keep you informed as we go along the best we can, but that's where we are with that issue. So we're working on that. We're still interviewing for workers. We had 2 or 3 this week, but we're not as successful as we'd like to be. That's pretty much it, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of little incidentals, but I'm also going the 8th, I believe the 9th of October, I'm leaving for New Orleans. We're doing, GHD is presenting a paper to a national paper to all the operators and WEFTEC members throughout the world. It's going to be pretty exciting. We're also I'm doing the Operation Challenge with all the operators throughout the world. It's going to be kind of exciting. And we're looking at technology from all over the world that may address some of the needs that we have as we do these upgrades. That's in October 9th. I'll be going through Thursday, I think Sunday to Thursday. And then also we're taking our pre-treatment program because of all the new PFAS and all the stuff that we thought we may have to do, hoping that we wouldn't, but we are. So I'm taking the lab manager, and we're going October 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. We'll be at UMass Lowell at a symposium there with all the pre-treatment coordinators throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and we'll talk about PFAS and how we're going to adjust the new permits. So we've got a lot going on, a lot on our plates, but we'll try to get it all done. And that's where we are, Mr. Chairman, and that's what I have at this moment.
Anybody, any questions?
No.
Thank you, Guy. Under unfinished business and general orders, the only thing I had mentioned there was we have got the articles for town meeting. 3 of the articles are for $2 million apiece. And those articles are for engineering for the 3 different projects. And one thing that needs to be made abundantly clear is that $2 million is a not to exceed dollar figure and could well be well below that. We just don't know what the engineering costs are going to be. So other than that, new business, anybody?
One second, Jimmy.
Yeah, go right ahead.
John, let me call you back. I'm in the middle of a meeting.
At some time, I guess we're gonna have to talk about staffing and salaries.
Yep,
Sorry,
absolutely.
but if we're not competitive,
Or
we're gonna,
SOL.
we're gonna be running shorthanded, and now that affects other things after
Yep.
what I listened to tonight.
You're absolutely right. Peter, do you have,
Well, I do have a lot of questions, and I don't know if this is the forum to bring it up in. I've talked to a lot of my neighbors down here about the Swift Beach project, and I have questions and their concerns. Is this the time to bring it up?
go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're wondering about these grinder pumps and the fact that it's supposed to stop the infiltration. They'd like to know where this infiltration is. Now, if we've cameraed the lines, can we show them where the infiltration is? Or is it the manholes? And if we can show it, have we got an idea of what it would cost to repair them? Now, the grinder pumps have, to their way of looking at it, have got a very negative reputation. I don't know one way or the other. But I don't see how that they're gonna eliminate some pumps myself, but I'll leave that one go. Now, Marion carries an $800,000 budget for their grinder pumps, and they only have a couple of hundred. Are we figuring for that? That's gonna be on top of after we install them. Now, when we come down to the power outages, we're talking about running around with the generator truck and powering up each one of these grinder pumps so that they empty. We've got a shortage of personnel now. How we are gonna be able to handle that is another question. And has anybody given any thought to the fact that if we have a power outage after we have a snow event, that the snow is going to be piled exactly where we're putting these pumps? So they'd have to be located and shoveled out before they could be powered up. They've got a lot of fair questions, people.
But pretty straightforward questions. First of all, you don't dig up the pump. On the side of the house is the control
No, but
panel.
you're
You
gonna-
plug into the control panel.
But you're
So
going to
you-
have
you
to
plug
dig
into
up the snow.
No, well, if the snow is higher than the side of the house where the control panel is, 4 or 5 feet, then you're absolutely right. And if it's that high, there's nobody moving.
But
So,
if
you know,
we're putting them,
don't know.
if you're putting the grinder pumps on the property line, which is right adjacent to the street, that will be covered with plowed snow.
we don't need to get in there. The control panel is what controls the pump in that chamber, and that's gonna be on the side of their house. So that's where you gotta get to. We'll never touch that. We won't have to get to the sump pump, the pump to fire it up. We
Oh, so
plug
you-
in the side of the house.
Wait a second. Let me understand it. So when you hook up to power the grinder pumps, you do it at the house, not at the pump.
That is correct.
That wasn't made very clear when we spoke to those people.
It was. The gentleman from E1 talked about the control panel that went on the side of the house that had a little light on top, and he explained it. And so that's the control panel that runs the electronics. And we're gonna have a plug-in. He explained it exactly how it works during that meeting.
Okay? That answers one question.
Infiltration, Peter, is all over the place. And well, we've got some old camera, and we can show that to them, or we can find some of them, and then we can have them look at the camera. The pipes are down 17, 10, whatever, and they're asbestos. It's very difficult to work with asbestos pipes that's been in the ground since 1978 because they're punky, they move, they're deteriorated. We tried lining, and we were unsuccessful. So that's one of the things we've, in a lot of conversation, we'll have the engineers be more specific. And then this became the best alternative for that because all the pipes are going to be solid and there'll be no leakage. They'll be 4 feet in the ground and we'll be done with that. Also, Peter, the goal is to eliminate some of these manholes that we have hundreds and hundreds of for gravity. We're also going to eliminate the 2 pump stations. So the $800,000 we're spending on maintaining 2 pump stations that are leaky, old, deep, and in disrepair and need a lot of repair, we'll reallocate those funds to address the new everybody's pump station with the same money that we're going to eliminate. So we're kind of working through this, Peter. They're all good questions, and we're doing our very best to address all the concerns in the long term. And how it solves the sump pump is simply that the grinder pumps can't take the sump pumps, so you have to move them out because they can't, because the sump pumps will pump greater than the grinder pumps. So they'll have to find a new place to put them into the yard. So that the gentleman explained that in detail by gallons per minute at the meeting. So
I beg your
don't know how
pardon on
else-
that, guy. The technician that was there at Voss Hall agreed that it would not eliminate sump pumps, that the reservoir for the
No,
sump pumps is
it could not.
larger than the sump.
No, what I'm saying to you is, he said, as an example, the sump pump will pump 150 gallons a minute. The pump in
Right.
the chamber pumps 78 gallons a minute. So when the sump pumps on, it will overwhelm the chamber. So the sump pump won't pump because it's got no place to go. That's how he explained it. And
That would only-
I'll give you his number so you can. Mhm.
That would
Correct.
only be if the sump pump stayed on continuously. The sump pump's on a float system. It probably has
I get
nothing
that.
more than a reservoir of 5-10 gallons. So it would only be on for the short period of time. The grinder
Peter,
pump reservoir is a lot larger.
Yeah, it's about 50 gallons or less. And
Okay, so
the reserve, they're made smaller to pump more frequently to have a fresher product. So they lower that. It's a small area. The sump pump, it will empty the basement, if you will. Yeah, there's a little cutout, but as the water comes up the entire floor of the basement and greater and around it, that sump pump is removing all that, which is more than a little square you see. So, it'll be more gallons than you can imagine. Absolutely. So that was the scenario, and it's been done in other communities, and that has been a problem in other communities, that the pump couldn't keep up with the sump pump. So they're based upon historic information. So yeah, and there may be an individual case where you have the water table isn't as high, it may be in the middle of summer, and the sump pump may come on occasionally, and we may not have an issue. But generally speaking, in the wet season, when these sump pumps almost nonstop, we'll see it because we see it after rainstorm, Peter. The sump pumps are nonstop, and the flow goes for days after to the plant after we have the rainstorm because that water table comes up. So that's where we are at this point. It may or may not change. I don't have a crystal ball. We're based on historic knowledge, but there may be situations that are different and unique as we move forward. But no matter what, the goal is to tighten everything up so we have less, especially as the sea level rises. And we all know that Swiss Beach used to be marshes and rivers and lakes that were filled in, used to be campsites, cottages, year-round homes, and septic systems could not go there. That's why we sued it, because it was overwhelmed, and sewer systems are overwhelmed because the whole area is built on shallow water. It's water table. It's crazy. And Peter, gravity pipes do not work in the long term in the situation we presently have. We have to come up with a long-term solution, not for today, not in my lifetime, but in lifetimes after mine, and within my lifetime and lifetimes after. And that's the goal, Peter. And the engineers, after a lot of debate and technology, feel this is the best way. That's where we are. And I know I can't answer every question, but we'll do our very best to try to address them all. But if you have them, could you write them down? I'll get them to the engineers and to the E1 company and see if we can get more specific answers to answer your more specific questions.
your argument would hold water if the sump pump stayed on continuously, but the sump pump is going to cycle, and it's going to cycle for only a short period of time. It's never going to fill that 50 gallons. But that aside from you mentioned that the system shouldn't have ever been put in there. In 1978, the Board of Selectmen were the sewer commissioners. And it looks like they didn't, take enough time to look at all of the options. That's all these people are asking for us to do. Check all the options.
And we all look at all the options. It's too deep we can't dig it up to fix it because of the cost of moving the water to lower the water table to whatever the elevation has to be. We have no place to put the water because everything's built up. We did just one kinko. You can talk to the conservation board. We had to put it on that beach area, and Dave was not happy. And that was a small amount of water. So I don't have all the answers. We got to move tons of water to start digging. And Peter, I don't know where we're going to put all this water, because we got to move the ocean or all the groundwater to get at the pipes because they're going to be dry. And one of the, as I'm told, I wasn't there in 7/8 on the project, but one of the biggest issues was moving that water. That's why people went bankrupt trying to do sewer there, because it was very nearly impossible. And that's our issue. So we're thinking to stay shallow. The more shallow we stay, the less expense and failure we may have. So, and we can't put gravity shallow because it has to go deeper and deeper for the simple fact of gravity working. So we're trying to stay away from that. So that's where we are at this moment.
Well, while I agree with you that if we stay shallow, everything works out great. But in 1978, they were able to get down there and put these pipes in place. I'm sure technology has made some improvements. They were able to de-water when they put the pipes in.
No, Peter, they went bankrupt trying to de-water. And when
Two
they put the
companies
system
went
in,
bankrupt. And then,
that's right.
and then
When they put, yes, and they put the system in, there's no bedding of the pipes because they couldn't because of the water. The pipes are floating. So yeah, they're in. We can get them in. There's a lot we can do, but is it done correctly? And is it done where it's going to last a long period of time? These pipes have been moving since they were put in, Peter. They've been an issue since day one because of the water. So anything can be done. It's the efficiency, effectiveness, and long-term viability, if you will, sustainability of that particular, whatever you choose to do. That's all. And I don't have all the answers, and listen to different experts and engineers. All this has been bantered around. When we did the original INR report for the EPA, I'm sorry, for the DEP, this was all bantered. I think we did that maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if I remember correctly. And all these things were bantered. Matter of fact, I think it was CDM many years ago that talked about grinder pumps because of the elevations of the water table and the depth of the pipes. So it's an ongoing problem. It'll continue to be. It won't go away. And as the sea level rises, it becomes more of a problem.
So Guy, are we, this system we're putting in, is it, and I was under the impression it is, the industry standard now for all coastal areas?
Yeah, I'm going to speak to, Situate, Dunham. Yes, more and more communities that are on coastal are going to the grinder because they're shallow and they're, if you will, completely enclosed system. One of the things in Swiss Beach that we have to be concerned about, if we have a high tide or storm and the water gets on, we have manholes that are going to leak like a sieve. They'll take out the entire system and we'll have to shut it down. There'll be no sewer. If the hurricane or any coastal storm comes and we flood the streets, we're shutting the system down because we can't allow the water to go in the manholes, which is breaching the system. A closed system gives us a fighting chance or a better chance because we can make it tight for that not to happen. And as the sea level rises, may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it's inevitable because we're watching it rise. And as the surges get more and more, there will be water on these roads and it's going to be an issue. We applied for a grant to evaluate the elevations, to look at all the manholes and to try to redesign them, which is replacing manhole structures and the cones to make them watertight so they wouldn't be an issue during water at times when the streets would be flooded. So and there's so many factors that go into this in the long term. In the immediate, I get it. In the immediate, I understand all the concerns and uproar, the expenses, the cost. I get all that. It's individuals that are worried about the individual issues. I get that. I truly do. Long term, for the long-term sustainability of all the sewers we have on the coast, that's how we're thinking. What's the best long-term for the entire community, the entire area, and given the facts that we have for resiliency to these storms that we're going to start seeing. So we're trying to make, long-term. We're not perfect, and we're getting information from other communities and trying our best. So yeah, it's standard. They're pretty standard. Pretty standard. The trailer park is putting nothing but grinder pumps in because it's standard to do gravity that have to go too deep. So there's a lot of folks that are doing grinder pumps because they're more economical in the long run and they are watertight and eliminate a lot of the issues with groundwater. So it's not an unknown. It's becoming more and more common than ever before.
Okay, anybody else?
What about maintaining them?
We'll
Are you
maintain them.
figuring
We're gonna
anything
take
in the
care of them.
budget?
Yeah, we're gonna eliminate the cost of the two pump stations. Remember, when we do the project, we're gonna eliminate Ruggles and Smith, which are very costly to operate. That money will redistribute to do the maintenance of those grinder pumps. Because remember, grinder pumps, we're gonna eliminate these two pump stations.
Yeah, but you won't be able to do that until we do the entire Swift Beach area.
Well, yeah, we're talking, well, the one.
And then
that you're
you'd
talking about
also have to do
immediately-
Hamilton Beach, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we're gonna do all those in the second phase. What we're talking about right now, we should we'll be okay with staffing. What we presently have, again, Peter, I'll be blunt. I don't have enough staff to run the plant, but we're getting it done. I don't have enough staff to run the pump station we have now, but we're getting it done. If there's any added expenses as of right now, we'll get it done because we have no choice. And it's staffing is staffing. If we don't have it, we can't shut the plant down. I can't stop working. We'll just go on. And I also want to say with these electricities, again, we have, I forget the number, 40 of them. And since 2012, we've been out probably 4 times to address these pumps during power outages. So I don't know how severe it's going to get. I understand the concerns, but we've been there. We've got the equipment. We've been out 4 times since 2012 to address it.
Well, the only figure I have is from Marion, and they carry $80,000 to maintain theirs, and they've only got a couple hundred.
$80,000 in our
How
budget.
much of that do they
A lot of
spend?
money, but not a lot of money. So we
How
spend,
much,
we
how
spend
much
that.
of the 80,000 do they actually spend?
I
I don't know.
don't know,
No.
I don't know the answer. But he gave me the impression that he didn't think it was enough.
I have no idea. None, zero. So I can't.
Well,
Okay.
these people are looking at having to pick up about $250,000 for the 130 homes we're talking about. That's going to cost them over and above what we're spending to do this project. And that concerns them. And they wanted, they know what happened in 78. They understand the system failed. And they want to be sure that we have looked at all the options. That's basically all they're asking.
And I think we tried to answer those questions. We have looked at them. I think the engineer, Bob, mentioned that he looked at all the options. And I don't know what more they want for reassurance. I'll ask Bob the question again.
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Yeah, no, thank you.
okay. 1 second here. 1 second. Bill has his hand up. I'm gonna take one more.
Jimmy, that's citizens participation.
I
He's already
understand.
spoken to us.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Yeah, he has. Why is it back up again?
Maybe he's never taken it down,
It could be.
but we're past citizens' comments, participation.
Oh, is that what happens when you put your hand up? You have to take it back down?
Yes,
Hey, I just
Okay.
figured out how to unmute myself. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's always a fun thing. Okay, is there any other sewer business? Anything that anybody has? Okay, we have our next meeting is the 13th of October. 6:30, room 320. Who wants to take Donna's place?
I make a
I'll make a
motion, we
motion, we
adjourn.
adjourn at 7:59.
Don't fight, guys. Don't fight.
Second.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye,
All in favor, Sandy,
aye,
Bye.
Peter, Matt,
Aye.
Jim?
aye, aye, aye.
We are adjourned at whatever the time is, 8 o'clock.
Good night.